Yo, what's going on? Mike from Mike Talk Sports. With the never-ending unconfidence in the health of Jimmy Garoppolo with the Las Vegas Raiders, I'm pretty damn confident in saying that Aidan O'Connell, their rookie fourth-round pick out of Purdue, is going to start at least one game next year. So with that being said, in today's video, I'm going to be analyzing Aidan O'Connell, breaking down his strengths and weaknesses, and I'm going to be answering the question, do the Raiders potentially have a starter in Aidan O'Connell? O'Connell was a 2-year starter at Purdue. He got playing time in all 4 years, but really the full-time starter for 2 years. In his first year as a starter in 2021, he put up 3,712 yards, 28 touchdowns, and 11 interceptions. And in 2022, he put up 3,490 yards, 22 touchdowns, and 13 interceptions. Aidan is 6'3", 210 pounds, so he's a pretty big statured quarterback out there. And analyzing this quarterback room for the Las Vegas Raiders, again, you have Jimmy Garoppolo, a guy whose health you straight up cannot rely on at this point in his career. He's never proven to be a healthy player. He's going to start for the Raiders, and hopefully for Raiders fans, he starts the majority of the year. But again, I'm pretty confident in saying Aidan O'Connell is going to get some starts, just as Jarrett Stidham started in the same exact system last year. Then, of course, you have Brian Hoyer, one of the least inspiring backup quarterbacks in the NFL, but he is a veteran. He's kind of an extension to the coach at this point. He's more or less a quarterback coach, kind of similar what Arizona has in Colt McCoy at this point. He's a guy who can definitely give you some starts, give you some playing time, and while he's not horrible, he's far from the worst backup in the league. I think at some point in the season, if they have to turn to Brian Hoyer for multiple starts, they're just going to say, screw it, might as well play Aidan O'Connell at that point. So breaking down his film, looking at his strengths and weaknesses now, the very first thing you notice about Aidan O'Connell, and really every quarterback that's come out of Purdue over the last few years, I think of guys like David Blau, for example, as well. Purdue really does run a traditional NFL-style offense, not a lot of gimmicky college plays in their offense. So when you look at Aidan O'Connell, you see him executing so many NFL concepts against NFL-esque defenses in terms of what the coverage looks are, certain coverage breaking routes and concepts from an offensive perspective. And this gives you a very clean film watch for Aidan O'Connell, which is something I definitely love out of Aidan O'Connell's film. Now, he's a guy who right away you are going to notice his pre-snap processor is very good. It is well above average for a quarterback prospect, and he's not your average fourth-round pick. Most fourth-round picks are guys you want to hit on with higher upside, guys who have very low floors, guys who ran very gimmicky college offense. I think of guys like Jaron Hall coming out of Brigham Young this year, but that's definitely not Aidan O'Connell. He's more of that Jimmy Garoppolo-esque quarterback prospect. So again, that pre-snap processor, man, is Aidan O'Connell confident in that pre-snap processor. That overconfidence in his pre-snap processor definitely gets him in trouble sometimes, and I'll definitely touch upon that when I talk about his negatives. But man, he gets that ball out of his hands so quickly. He's so decisive with his reads, and again, he thinks he can read every single defense perfectly pre-snap, and this translates very positively over to his film as he has a very quick trigger, and he does have a nice quick release to go on with that quick mental processor that he does have pre-snap. Now, post-snap, I would still say he has an above average post-snap processor for a college prospect, but it's nothing like his pre-snap processor that I would call damn near elite for a college prospect. The post-snap processor is just slightly above average. He definitely takes a little bit too long to move off of his reads. Sometimes when his pre-snap processor is incorrect, he'll take a little bit longer to go through his progressions. And I alluded to it earlier when I said he had a lot of NFL film, and something that really shows up in, he consistently tests tight man coverage. Not only that, he'll throw into zone coverage windows with good anticipation. He's a very chemistry-based quarterback, again, similar to Jimmy Garoppolo. So he's a guy who, if he has a lot of chemistry with his wide receivers, it's going to look absolutely incredible out there. If he does not have as much chemistry with his receivers as he would want to, you are going to see a good bit of miscommunications on the routes. Looking at Aidan O'Connell from a physical perspective, he has about an average arm for a college prospect. If he was a starter in the NFL, he would definitely have one of the more weaker arms in the NFL. He can make most throws you would want him to make, but he's not somebody who's going to be throwing with an incredible amount of velocity to get it there. Again, he's more of an anticipatory thrower than he is some power thrower, see ball, hit ball type of guy. Now, he's much better in the short to intermediate game than his deep ball in terms of his accuracy. He has above average short to intermediate throwing accuracy, and I would say his deep ball accuracy, again, is adequate, but it's nothing special. He's not hitting his guys in stride consistently at the college level with his deep throws. Now, something I really like out of Aidan O'Connell too is he has nice play extension within the pocket. He has very nice pocket presence. He's a guy who is going to buy time within the pocket. He's good at manipulating pressure, stepping up and into the pocket to create time to throw. But in terms of his play extension, really beyond the pocket and beyond the line of scrimmage, as you can see in some of these highlights playing over this video, he's shown it at the college level, but in my opinion, this is not going to translate to the NFL. In my opinion, he's just simply not physically talented enough to get away with trying to beat an edge rusher chasing him down. They are going to sack him consistently every single time if he does try to escape the pocket. Now, some negatives, I already alluded to it previously in terms of his athletic profile. It's definitely well below league average for the NFL. So he's somebody who needs a lot of physical talent around him if you want to have a very prolific passing game around him. He's not somebody who's going to necessarily be making his teammates better out there, but he's certainly not going to make his talent worse out there. He's going to get the ball in the hands of his talent very quick with that very quick trigger he does have. He's somebody at the NFL level who's going to be very reliant on his coach. What do I mean by that? If Josh McDaniels cooks up a perfect game plan, Aidan O'Connell is going to go out there, trust every single pre-snap read that his coach wants him to deliver, and he's going to deliver it very nicely. Whereas if Josh McDaniels calls the wrong play, Aidan O'Connell post-snap is not going to adjust to the incorrect play call, and he's most likely going to throw an interception. So if we see a 4-interception game out of Aidan O'Connell next year, I think that's more of Josh McDaniels' fault. Whereas if we see a 300-yard game, 4-touchdown game, 0-interception game out of that Aidan O'Connell start, I think that will be much more of Josh McDaniels cooking up a really nice game plan for his young rookie quarterback. My pro comp to him is a slightly less athletic, slightly worse prospect version of Jarrett Stidham, a guy they just had in here last year, a guy who had a really nice start for the Raiders last year, a 4th-round pick out of Auburn. The reason I give Jarrett Stidham as a prospect a slight tick above Aidan O'Connell, Jarrett Stidham was an incredible high school player that just had a very bad situation at Auburn. In my opinion, Aidan O'Connell had a better situation at Purdue than Jarrett Stidham had at Auburn. And again, the physical talent was a little bit better from Jarrett Stidham, but they have very similar strengths and weaknesses in terms of the really nice pre-snap processor and the somewhat questionable post-snap processor, but a solid one nonetheless. Something to look out for, he led Power 5 football in turnover-worthy plays last year, and he was second in Power 5 football in interceptions and turnovers. So again, he's definitely going to be a guy who needs a good play caller behind him in order to succeed at the NFL level. In my opinion, it was a bit of an L for the Raiders to let Jarrett Stidham walk, for them to just replace him with Aidan O'Connell. Again, I do like Jarrett Stidham a little bit more. If I had to give a prediction for Aidan O'Connell, I do think that he will start over Brian Hoyer if it comes down to it, and I think he'll give you some good starts, some bad starts. All in all, he's more or less a career backup with potential to grow 4 or 5 years down the road like a Jimmy Garoppolo. Thanks for listening, guys. Let me know in the comment section below, what are your thoughts on Aidan O'Connell, and is he going to start a game for the Raiders this next season?